I want Texas to beat Clemson by double digits. That is completely an unbiased and reasonable and an objective point.
And why would you go laterally? Why would you go to the Big Ten? Why? Oh, you knew we were going to play in the bowl game. No. Of course
Hope he
not.
likes blocking. I don't want to spend too much time on it from my end here, so I'm going to ask you guys one question. Is Tom Brady going to be the quarterback for UNC?
Hey there, Gamecock fans. Welcome back to Alumni Game, the show where three Gamecocks dive into Carolina football, the SEC, the NIL, even the SLC this week. We're bringing you weekly doses of heartbreak, hilarity, and just enough insight to keep you coming back for more. I'm your host, Mike Ritchie, class of 06. With me, my co-host, Sam Niedermeyer, also class of 06, and John Buster Clarkson, class of 02. Fellas, we have a bowl game, okay? I repeat, we have a bowl game.
Yeah, man, we're going to dive into it later too, but not only a bowl game, but I mean, we got the cream of the crop. If you're an SEC team, not in the college football playoff, and we got picked first by the committee from that bowl game. So I'm excited. We'll dive into it later.
Yeah,
man.
It feels good.
10 wins, opt-ins, no opt-outs. I love it.
Love it. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that'd be nice. All right, fans, we're jam-packed this week. We got a lot more than I even thought, where we're almost in the postseason here. We'll recap these conference championships. Sneak peek, they were very exciting. We'll preview this college football playoff layout and sort of unpack all that hype as it relates to our team and, the rest of the country. We'll get into our bowl game preview for the Cocks. We'll talk some Heisman. Saturday, Heisman. We'll hit the road recruiting and kind of what that means for coach and the Gamecocks and the program. And we'll dip into the portal a little bit. Not yet. That's next week for all you portal heads. We'll dribble into b-ball, a little bit of action there, men's and women's. And just a couple of little housekeeping, some minor coaching changes here at South Carolina and in college football in general, which is kind of breaking today. So, we'll kind of unpack that, what that might mean for some of the other topics. And then wrapping up, we'll give out game balls and probably more about these conference ships. But anyway, don't forget to like, subscribe if you like what we're talking about. If you have topics or you think differently, please let us know on social media so you can get everything we're doing. And settle in. Let's get started with this week's episode of Alumni Game.
Cox.
All right, Gamecock fans. So I know we didn't play last weekend, but we're still very interested in this SEC championship and how the other championships might affect things and where we end up. So look, I mean, we had some good ones. They were fun ones to watch. That SEC championship I enjoyed very much. I kind of did want Georgia over Texas. I felt Texas was a little unchallenged, and I felt like that would throw things for a little more loop in the college football playoff, and it seems to. But what about some of these other games, guys? Who Diner's choice here, whatever you think. But I mean, ACC was interesting for us too, right?
The ACC game was interesting because I think leading up to it, there was a kind of a consensus that as much as we hate Clemson, and we still do, there's no orange in this household.
Doesn't go away.
Yeah. But there was the idea that a Clemson win would perhaps knock SMU down enough where our strength of schedule would potentially overtake the fact that they would have 2 losses and we have 3. That obviously didn't happen, but that was an intriguing idea. We never want to see Clemson win, but for a moment there, a Clemson win could have been advantageous for us. Now,
I would stop you there for just a second and say, in Buster speak, to me, that means Carolina beat that ACC champion. Like that's
we're still riding that. Like no matter what happens, we beat the ACC champ.
Yeah,
we beat them in their stadium. They
6
are
days
overrated.
Before or whatever it was.
Yeah, they have a weak schedule. They, I think the only 2 ranked teams they played, the only 3 ranked teams they played, they lost to us, Louisville, Georgia. So apparently they're not that good, but somehow
And
they
Georgia's
the
back
playoffs.
up where they were before, winning the SEC. So
Yeah.
that's
What
the
do you
other
think about
the
that,
other
Sam?
side.
Georgia, without their starting quarterback on the last little bit there, still came out on top.
Yeah, we've
Yeah,
said
we
things
had yeah.
about Carson Beck, but they seem to have something after that. Maybe. Yeah. Sorry, Sam, you were gonna say.
No, I mean, we called it last week. We all knew this was going to be a defensive struggle. Carson Beck has not impressed these last few weeks. I guess he's out there. He's got a new girl. You know what I mean? Like he's found love, so that's fine. But he's not impressed these last few weeks. Gets injured. Second string quarterback, forgive me his name, comes in.
Gunner Stockton, former
Gunner.
Carolina commit, left when Will Muschamp got fired.
That's right, Gunner.
Georgia.
Warm
That's
gin
right.
shot
I
for
forgot about
him.
that. He was at 4-star, right? Yeah. So he comes in, plays adequate enough for the team to win. It was all about look. We knew it was gonna be a defensive struggle. Had a feeling that Georgia, just because they've been battle tested, they had that 8 overtime game or whatever it was against Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
Had a feeling that this was going to be a Georgia team that took over. They did. Going back to that Clemson game, man, there's nothing been more fun than seeing social media this last week and seeing the Clemson social media accounts talking shit to the South Carolina social media accounts. And the South Carolina social media account just says like, "Do you forget already? 17-14, right?"
Yeah, washed it off that quick.
That's been the most fun is seeing the shit talking between the two schools, man.
Yeah, and look,
ACC champs or state champs, which one do you want? We'll take.
I know. I'll go even like lower than that to boil it down even more. Like and I'll take it on the chin a little bit. We made the rivalry relevant again. We did that last week. We did that this year. We did that years ago with our move to the SEC, and we are getting up there now. We are the most interesting and somewhat dynamic team, maybe in all of the SEC. We're on a heater like we've never been on a heater, and we made it more relevant. And they don't know how to handle it, but they still have their business to take care of. So I understand their tact. I just already can't wait till next year.
What's funny is, thinking about kind of our previous conversations. We did this in last week's episode, and it's going to come up again. It's going to come up again next week, probably. It's going to come up again, I think, all season long, all year long. It's the year of the quarterback, because you look at the Georgia-Texas game. That was Quinn Ewers versus Carson Beck, a couple of five-star guys. Obviously, Carson Beck goes down. I think Gunner was a five-star, maybe one or two services.
I think,
but he was most likely like overall 4.
Yeah.
But he was heavily recruited, legit guy. Obviously, he gets his head knocked off there at the very end.
Right.
But that's the tale of two quarterbacks in that game. You look at the Clemson SMU game, like Clemson. Cade Klubnik. Obviously, we showed that Lenoris is better than Cade Klubnik. And then going into one of, I think, the more impressive game was Oregon still remaining undefeated. Dylan Gabriel.
I wanted to go there next. I don't want to leave them out. They're definitely the tops in the country until we can see what they bring in the playoff. But yeah, definitely not trying to disrespect the Ducks at all. And in fact, I caught something really funny this week. I don't know if you guys saw this. Pat McAfee actually had the Duck on as a guest, and that's hard having a mute guest. But I thought that was really cool, giving the Duck his due and asking him questions. And you better believe if Pat's listening ever in the history of anything, like Cocky would be game for that as well.
Oregon kind of listen. Kudos to them, right? You go undefeated in college football, it's good. But I'm looking at like the Big Ten in general, like. There's just these teams like Penn State, Indiana, Ohio State. They don't play like Alabama. They don't play Ole Miss. They don't play Texas, right? They don't play A&M. They don't play Missouri. They don't play a tough Kentucky team on the road. Like they don't play these teams that are, as we know, the varsity conference of the SEC. And sure, call me a homer. I don't care. But like, I think like this is a beneficial loss for Texas. Like as weird as that sounds. They are going to get better, and they're going to be a force here in the playoff.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is it's not just playing an Alabama and an Ole Miss or a South Carolina if you're another team, or a Georgia or a Texas. You're having to play them back to back.
Right.
Back.
Yeah.
I do.
Their schedules were the other way around. Their conference schedule was easy peasy. They'd have to schedule the non-conference would have to be the hard games, the Notre Dames, the Southern Cals, the the premier teams to get on TV. I mean, let's not continue to throw any shade on Oregon, though. Oregon, being in the Pacific Northwest, they don't get a lot of attention either. They really don't, and they are where they are based off what they're doing. I get that, but even as a program in general, I've always seen them as speed and money because of things like Nike. You know, it makes it an attractive place to play.
So my thing is, Oregon will always have a Pac-12 spot in my heart because they, the Pac-12 at one point was strong when Stanford was looking really good. This
Andrew
was
Luck,
Jim Harbaugh,
Yep.
Andrew Luck,
all the quarterbacks and running backs who came from Southern Cal or UCLA or Cal.
And then the idea that like UW was good a couple years last year. The thing is, Oregon does have a couple of signature wins. They did beat Penn State, and that was December 7th, I believe. And to me, it's
last week. Yeah.
If you're going to say there's a team outside of the SEC that has some form of strength of schedule to kind of parlay into a win-loss
pedigree, right? The pedigree.
Yeah, exactly. Oregon is going to be that. And I do love what Dillon Gabriel has done. I loved him from when he was at UCF into Oklahoma and now at Oregon. I like Dillon Gabriel. And Oregon does have players. So if you want to tell me what is the most impressive conference champion, I would go with Oregon. And that, obviously we'll talk about it here in a little bit, but like that, I think carries a lot of weight. So, yeah. No,
you hit a few things there. We'll get after Dillon Gabriel when we get into Heisman, but that's a good little saunter over here into the college football playoff, right? We're talking about Oregon and where they belong, and so diving into the schedule, guys. I know what I see, and we've all seen this bracket. I know what I hear, and I think we'll talk about that secondary. But you saw this bracket and you thought what right away?
I thought that as much as the committee wants to talk about how they got it right, every single game is a touchdown or more favorite, right? There's a touchdown or more underdog. Like, so they're basically, Vegas is saying, nope, you did not get it right. Like these matchups,
we know
could
who's
be
going to
blowouts,
win.
right? Like this is what they're saying. That being said, right, you still got to play the game. I'm intrigued by Tennessee going up to Ohio State. I really am. I think Tennessee's got a low-key solid defense. Josh Heupel seems to have that team clicking. Offensively, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce the quarterback's name. They've kind of shifted their identity a little bit from scoring 70, 80 points like we were earlier this year to now they're a defensive team and they got some players. They got some players there. And there's one thing that you can do to Ohio State to get them off their kilter. And we saw from Michigan, punch them in the mouth, man, because they do not want to play that hard style football. So I'm intrigued by that matchup for sure.
So not to be ticky-tack, but I think even I know, Sam, you don't know the name, just give us the number, QB.
No, I got his first name. His first name is Nico, so I'm going with Nico.
Mr. Nico. But no, I'm with you. I think my March Madness brain kicks in when I see this bracket and I see an 8 and a 9 right away, and that game jumps out at me. I think SMU has played well. Penn State, I believe, to be better. I think that's a better game than I might have thought a couple weeks ago. Clemson, Texas, I mean, you know what I'm going to say there, and I kind of can't wait for that game. I want to watch all of that game, and I will take screenshots of that game if it goes the way that I think it will go.
Buster, we gotta cheer for Texas to demolish Clemson, right?
Yeah,
like
to wax that out.
Yeah. I would
the
say
steer is not going to be there, but they'll still, run right over. The running of the bulls, kind of like that.
The funny thing is I was split between three games because I wanted to see Notre Dame. I really like their coach Marcus Freeman. He's a great guy. They obviously beat us in that bowl game a couple of years ago. We had a lot of opt-outs. We were down to 0 tight ends, but I like him as a coach. I like what he stands for. I like his team. I do know that Notre Dame does have a very good defense. And I think this is the one game where when everybody was complaining about Indiana's strength of schedule, and yet they're in the top 10 and they had the season they had, and shout out to them for having a good season. But this is the game where they're going to have to say, this is the game they have to prove that they're worthy of that playoff berth.
Yeah.
The second one, I wanted to go with the idea of Tennessee, Ohio State. Like you said, Sam, I love the way that Tennessee's has played offensively the last couple of years. I love their quarterback. Josh Heupel has put together a very good offense, but I don't like Ohio State. I'll tell you that. I lived in
Join the
Hilton
club,
Head,
brother.
and I had. All right, here's
Not
the
a
deal.
fan of Ohio
Head.
State.
I lived in Hilton Head for 5 to 6 years,
Ohio
and
Junior.
Ohio State people would come down there, and it made me want to take them out into the swamp and let them firsthand experience what alligator life is like in the low country of South
You're
Carolina.
gonna go all Florida man on that?
Oh my God!
There's a lot of Ohio people in Charleston now too. A lot of
Yeah.
people moved down
Yeah.
during COVID, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
They got a little obnoxious with their OHIO, but you know what? Sorry, Ohio
Drinking
people.
pop? Were they all drinking pop?
Yeah, the pop. I did date a girl from Ohio who was absolutely wonderful. She's great. So not all is bad, but
that's nice.
I
Well,
wanted Tennessee.
back to this football playoff. We didn't even get into the second round, and that's where it starts to break down for me. And I think on a base level, I do agree with you, Samuel, about they didn't really get it right. They didn't get it right a lot of different ways. The only game on here that I really want to watch from a competitive standpoint, and I don't know what'll happen, is Tennessee Ohio State. The only other thing that's happening here is that it sounds like financially the most tickets are being sold to Indiana Notre Dame. Now I get that because
Most
those
expensive
fan bases,
most expensive
yeah.
tickets.
Oh, sorry, most expensive ticket. It's Notre Dame. They're very well traveled. They're internationally known. Go watch Rudy once, and you'll start to get an idea of why. And I get it. And they're an independent, and they have their own TV contract. And truthfully, though, we know as fans, this college football playoff was not expanded just for competitive reasons or to make it somehow a better representation of who is the best football team at that moment in time. It was also to make money, right? A lot of the other things I mentioned earlier in the intro, I threw a lot of other acronyms. NIL has brought money to players, right? Conference realignment has gotten teams into markets for the television contracts. Notre Dame stands alone because they have their own television contract. They are their own production studio, and they print money when it comes to what they're doing, and they sell T-shirts. Does SMU? I don't think so.
Be careful, man.
They haven't been there for a million years.
SMU's got. Be careful, SMU, man. They had a crazy good program with Eric Dickerson and who's the guy that was on ESPN? Craig James. Craig James, man. They had some. I never wasn't. I mean, obviously, I wasn't alive. I wasn't alive.
You make a good point, Sam.
But
I know not.
But they got that Dallas oil money, and now that they can legally pay these players, like they're gonna, as Buster said, man,
we're going deep state.
No, you're right. They got a lot of money
down
there.
I don't mean to offend the Southern Methodists. I know not what I do, and
Methodist in name.
I talk about it from a football standpoint.
Yeah.
How about this? I'm going to go ahead and state it right now. So the game is Saturday, December 21st. I will gladly wager a warm gin shot on the Texas Clemson game. And here's why: because Texas right now is a double-digit favorite. It's the highest spread out of those first 4 games.
Yep.
Texas is giving 11. The over/under is 51. I want Texas to beat Clemson by double digits. That is completely an unbiased and reasonable and an objective point.
And that's where the gin shot starts. If it's not
the warm gin shot is this. I will take the warm gin shot if Texas does not cover.
Ooh, I'm
so that's over already. 10. So 11 points.
No, 11.
Oh no, it's at 11. So
it's got to be 12 or more. 12 or more.
12 or more.
Yeah, so if they score 12 or if they beat them by 12 or more, you guys take the warm gin shot. If Clemson actually plays kind of good
and gets it within 10,
it gets it within 10, then I'll take the warm gin shot. Are we?
I don't know. I'm staying away.
You know what? Mike, I kind of like that because I'm a big proponent of seeing. I do think Clemson scores a touchdown late just to keep it to like 10, but they're gonna get. I think Texas got their number, but I think see a late touchdown just to say we can't.
We have to see a
we all know
virtual
it's a garbage.
shake here.
It's gonna be a garbage touchdown that gives Buster that warm gin shot.
Do we have a virtual shake on this? We understand the parameters of this warm gin shot. All right, fellas, I'll be your
there it is.
And I will just say that that's why they make those points. And I kind of hope it goes that way. I hate both shades of orange. Let's say that. But I would also say we were trying to get into the second round of this playoff. What shocks you there? What shows up in the second round? Winner of Tennessee Ohio State plays who and what happens? Because for me, that's who I don't want, right? Tennessee beats Ohio State, and if I'm looking at it right, they might be the lowest seed, maybe, and then that would mean that they play Oregon. Tennessee, Oregon sounds like a lot of fun.
Arizona. So it's number one. I don't like that the conference winners are not rewarded a home game. I do think that this round, and I get you want to keep the Bulls in there. So
Yeah,
I would think that they would do something. The committee would do something where a team like Oregon should be getting a home game. In my opinion, they deserve
sure.
it. The bye is also impressive. Don't get me wrong.
And that's going to affect
I
ticket
think
sales and stuff like that too. You're right. If
I
it's
think
not a home game,
whoever lands on getting Georgia in the second round kind of has it a little bit easier than the other teams, right? Because we just talked about Carson Beck being out. That offense
right.
under Gunner. Now it's possible. I mean, Gunner's got talent. That's why he went to Georgia, but he hasn't seen a lot of snaps this year, and they were all. I mean, don't get me wrong, all in the SEC championship game. So if you see snaps, that's good, but not meaningful snaps. Let me put it that way. So I think if you're winning, I think that if you win that the first round, you get Georgia in the second round. I mean, you're kind of looking okay.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the clearest one I think is Oregon, right? Oregon's rooting for all the underdogs. If all the underdogs won, they'd play Clemson, right? So, but that we don't think that's happening. And so the main underdog would be Tennessee. They do it. I'm Oregon. I got to get ready. I'm going to get ready for Tennessee. But if SMU would do it and take out Penn State, that's kind of awesome. And then Oregon gets SMU, they're going to cruise by them. Come on. And then on the other side, Indiana, Notre Dame. Yeah, if I'm Oregon, go Dame. That's fine. I won't play you because I got Tennessee or someone else. And Indiana, yeah, take out one of the teams with more wins here, who maybe has the pedigree, who has been in this playoff, who has been in the championship and has lost terribly, so maybe has more chip. But for me, anything else in the middle, I'm anybody and I get Boise State, I'm not that scared. I'm anybody else and I get Arizona State, I'm not that scared.
Arizona State's hot though, man. They are really red hot right now, and they got to run.
They have no experience in this format or in the
back.
postseason, right? They have never been up this high, up into the college football playoff. I mean, I know we're expanding the format and so they get in now, but that's sort of, to me, what this playoff is going to show. Can these mid-major schools or schools that are from smaller conferences who don't usually get this shot, right? Let's not get it twisted. If this is the year that it is and it's the same format as last year, Arizona State's not here, right? No. Boise State might not be here. And Indiana, I don't know, is here at all, right? So there's some real, what you could start to call darlings like we do. And look, I'm not going to say Cinderella and dancing. Those are all coined for March Madness. But if this is a larger tournament and working towards what it will be forever, there are random factors here. And I think, Sam, I think you're right. The difference in a home game or not, that's going to be the difference maybe in the entire playoff and the way it plays out.
I do have this. I will do an old-fashioned hot take here. The easiest path actually is for the 7th seed Notre Dame, and here's why. They are playing the 10th seed Indiana Hoosiers, which even though they had a good season, props to them. I don't think that they are a playoff worthy team because they've had a very, very difficult, a very easy strength of schedule and a very difficult time beating the actual good teams on their schedule. Yeah. So let's say Notre Dame destroys Indiana. Well, then their next step is going after Georgia, who does not have a starting quarterback. And again, I don't know how long Carson's going to be out, but even if he does come back, with that shoulder injury, I don't think he's going to be at the level that he needs to be a playoff contender.
Yeah. You've watched enough football to know that shoulder injury.
Yeah, and then we've also seen that Georgia has not played Georgia level of football this season. So then let's say you go and beat Georgia. Well, then after that, you have a pick between Penn State, who Penn State has not beaten a ranked. They are 0-4 against ranked teams.
I mean, they're basically like 1-16 under James Franklin against top 10 teams, man.
Yeah,
I do think it's a team that can turn it around, though. I agree with you guys. They aren't necessarily who we thought they were at a point in the season. I thought they were the bee's knees, and I still think they do regularly play teams that are very good, much like we do, and by the chance they're not ranked that week or whatever. But I think this is the type of tournament, playing the ball they play, playing this time of year, getting coached the way they are. I think Penn State has a real chance here. I hear you,
Now, Penn
Sam.
State,
Arizona State is hot, but I just feel like it's different. Penn State has been to things like this, big bowl games, championship games.
And
They're
they lose them
churning
all.
out players.
and they,
Yeah, and they
they,
lose them all. Yeah, that's
I don't
true.
know what to tell you.
That's true. That's true. So take your poison, right? The vet who gets there and loses, or
Yeah,
the rookie
yeah.
who's there for the first time. And I hear you. The rookie for the first time has upside. So
yeah, but
you're flipping my
the
tune a
fact of the
little
matter
bit here.
is, James Franklin and Penn State, they're the eighth grader that likes to say that they're the toughest people in school because all they do is beat up sixth graders. Well,
Yeah,
that's
he
cool,
hit
whatever.
puberty early.
So
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
it. Like if Notre Dame beats Georgia, then they're going to have their pick of Penn State, the eighth grader that beats up sixth graders. You got SMU, the losers of the ACC that somehow snuck in because of whatever reasoning that the College Football Playoff Committee had, or Boise State. Boise State could be dangerous with Ashton Shinty, but are they one-dimensional because of Ashton Shinty?
Right.
Notre Dame, I think, has the easiest path to get to at least the semifinals, and then can go from there. So
Yeah,
my
I'd agree.
old-fashioned
Indiana
hot take
looks
of the
most
week,
fraudulent. I'd agree.
I
say
think
Notre
Notre
Dame?
Dame. I
What?
think it's going to be Notre Dame.
Well, we don't have to do
Are we
that
gonna see
all
Notre
right
Dame
now.
in the college
Buster.
football championship again? They gotta get beat by an SEC team bad.
No, they
I
won't.
would love
They
to
won't.
see that.
And look, we don't have to do that now, anyways. We are.
Yeah,
we're
we got
next week.
we're gonna dissect this much more next
Yeah,
week.
all I
and
really wanted was the
definitely.
first round and a scrap at the second round, and I think we have. And some great points, Buster. You got me thinking. And then Sam, you got me thinking a different way about those Sun Devils too.
Hey, listen, I
I'll
just want
check
to
that out a bit.
scramble your brain. I just want to mix things up.
We're
Just
just
like
here to make
drugs
sure
tend
that
to do,
people
yeah.
don't stay in that echo chamber of hearing the same thing over and over again, right? You gotta Arizona State dangerous, man. They are red hot.
And
They
it's
got
all
a
about what you read and
big
what you
ass
see.
running back that
You know,
can.
I'm going to
plow
go back
over
and watch
guys.
some highlights of Arizona State. Yeah, maybe I'll see something different. And I might do the same thing for Penn State, and maybe I see something different there too. But either way, we'll boil this down a bit, get back to the Gamecocks and our bowl game preview. As far as I have it, the Citrus Bowl, right, guys?
Yes, sir.
All right,
Yes,
all
sir.
right. So that will be December 31st. That's kind of fun. Help bring in New Year's a little bit in the afternoon. I'm seeing that we have South Carolina as a favorite against Illinois. What are we thinking, guys? We like this. It's good, right? 10 wins. We can get there. It's not necessarily everything that one wants in a bowl game, but Sam, you were talking a bit to me earlier about the committee and who selects the bowls. What was that about with this selection?
So the Citrus Bowl gets the top pick of the whatever SEC. It's always going to be an SEC and a Big Ten team, right? So the Citrus Bowl committee has the very first pick of all the bowls, and so it's kind of the premier destination, if you will, for SEC teams that haven't won the conference championship or aren't going to the playoff. They selected us. I think that's a huge statement to. They have eyes. They saw that, hey, we are the best team right now. We're the most complete team. We're definitely one of the best well-coached teams. It's just really exciting. So I think this is a really good statement by the bowl committee. Beamer was really pumped. Shout out to Coach Tanner. I guess that we sold out our allotment of tickets in like 2 hours or an hour or something like that. So he's trying to get more. I should say shout out Coach Tanner and thank you for your service. You do a great job as an AD. And so
yeah, we'll
great
get
job
to that
there.
in a bit. Yeah.
I guess my biggest question, Buster, is what are we looking at? You mentioned something about opt-ins and opt-outs. I'm seeing a bunch of guys that are looking if they want to play. Do you think Kennard plays, and how about Eamon Wari?
Oh, okay. So you're basically saying, okay, this is our bowl game. How competitive are we going to be with guys that are going to the NFL?
Well,
right?
Kennard's got a lot to lose, right? Like he's probably going to be a top, first round pick, and he's certainly one of the best edge rushers. So
Just won the Bronco Nagurski Award, yeah.
Eamon Wari's got a little bit more to prove. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that one, Buster?
Well, the biggest question I have is that this is the Citrus Bowl, yet the Cheez-Its. I've never had a slice of orange on top of a Cheez-It cracker.
You don't like
so
your
I don't
Cheez-Its
know
try
how-
it. Maybe
I don't
we'll
know
do it
if
on the
that's
show.
Grapes and Cheez-Its are my dinner tonight.
I don't think that that flavor profile really matches up to anything that's
It's
delicious.
the same color.
But, yeah, no. The cool thing, and I think this speaks volumes to what Shane and this team has done, especially in the month of November, the last couple of weeks. The fact that we're a double-digit favorite. I don't know much about the Fighting Illini. I do know this: that is one of the 13 teams in college football that their mascot's name does not end with the letter S. The Fighting Illini.
That is a fun ass fact.
The opposite of every WNBA.
That is a dad trivia question that actually my dad used to pose to me all the time, and I had to know all 13 teams. God forbid. But
no, something similar, non sequitur here, but the number of teams that have helmets on their helmet. That one's kind of fun too. It's like Raiders, Broncos at one point, Packers at one point were there,
But no, I think knowing what we've done, knowing that we can get a 10th win, I think what Shane has done as far as from a culture standpoint, you got guys that are playing more for the name on the front of their jersey than the back. The idea that they're going to go out with a bang. And certainly with someone like Kyle Kennard, who can be a very, very high draft pick that's going to make a lot of money in the NFL, I would have totally understood if he decided to opt out in the way of protecting his body for the combine and subsequent draft. But I think more so these guys have a mindset that they want something. And do I think that there's a little chip on the shoulder from a playoff snub?
Yes.
Yeah, no, definitely. But more so, it's a family kind of responsibility. You play for your brother. You felt that even from summer camp and then into preseason practice in August. Like these guys, there was something different about their mindset, and I think that what that is has carried to wanting to play in this bowl game.
Sure. I mean, I would totally agree with everything you're saying, Buster. I would say that, it's up to him what he wants to do. I think either way could serve the team, and I think coach can spin it the other way. Either he wants to play and we will have him play, maybe not the entire game, maybe not every snap, but that he's a leader out there and he can help coach up the next guy after him. And that's what football is anyways. It isn't just, someone gets hurt and it's next man up. It's someone graduates and then next man up, or someone goes pro. So next man up. And that's just a team mentality. And that's what we talk about when we say culture. Culture is a singular word. It doesn't really kind of elucidate everything we want to say, but that's what we're talking about. That coach is supporting the player. If the player can't play because of what's coming, he understands that. We'll talk about that. Very similar to, what we'll get to in a coaching staff. But one question I want to pose to you guys. With NIL, he can have deals and make money. Even maybe before this game, and maybe even do an advertisement that airs during this game. Does he do that? Should he do that? Does that change things and the path forward with college football? These guys are getting paid now before they're drafted, right?
I think Kennard's already has a few deals. I see him on posts on social media every now and then with different outlets in Columbia. So I think he's actually had a few deals. Obviously, they're probably not as big as Dylan Stewart's new one. But I know he's got he's had a few deals, so he's been dipping his toes. He's very active on social media. I imagine he'll continue to do the same thing, and it's just you get these guys that want to go to the NFL. I mean, that's the dream. That is the absolute dream. So even with all the NIL and with the plan, it's like, okay, like what do I want to do? To your point, Buster, I think the culture thing matters a lot. Mike, you said it too. Like culture thing matters a lot. If there's one thing, so Illinois, let's real quick, another quick storyline about Illinois. Brett Bielema is the head coach. He coached at Arkansas for a little bit. He was at Wisconsin before that. We know what he likes to do. He likes to run the ball. So if there's any team equipped to beat that, and he does it like a hard-nosed style too. It's not like, spread it out. I mean, they'll run the option, they'll run the read option a little bit. But to your point, both your guys' points, if there's one team if there's a team mentality that's able to stop that hard-nosed physical type of, punch in the face type of football that Brett wants to run, it certainly is going to be a culture fit like South Carolina. And I guess there's another coach over in Illinois, I think, right now, right, Buster?
There's a former Gamecock wide receiver coach. Justin Stepp is now the wide receiver coach at Illinois. Go from a wide receiver coach to a wide receiver coach, going to the Big Ten from the SEC, lateral move. I don't know what's the story behind that. Will they shake hands in the middle of the field? I don't know. Like you said, who cares? Because you said that this is a Brett Bielema team that runs the ball. We went up against a Clemson team that were supposed to be able to run the ball with Maffa, and he barely was able to get 65 yards rushing on us. So
Yeah, they went more
like you
change up
said,
with the other running back,
we match up well, and I think especially with this being the last game for Debo Williams and Demetrius Knight at the linebacker position, they're out to prove that they are worthy of a draft pick. And so
yeah, they're trying
I
to earn
think,
a draft pick. A little different.
exactly. I think
Absolutely.
that we are at a supreme advantage defensively against their offense, based purely on the fact that if their strength is hard nosed running the football, we've shown that a team that was built on that with Clemson and Maffa, and we shut it down. We're going to be able to shut it down. And now that we have a, I wouldn't call it extra motivation, but the idea is that this is the going away party for Knight and Debo, and I think we're going to come out to shine, and maybe Coach Stepp's receivers come to play. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, Max.
A guy that develops wide receivers. I don't know.
I'm spinning a narrative in my mind, and that's a little more of an inside man, like Spike Lee's movie. You know what I mean? Why would you go laterally? Why would you go to the Big Ten? Why? Oh, you knew we were going to play in the bowl game? No, of course
Hope he
not.
likes blocking.
Yeah. Got to block on my offense.
All I'm saying is I heard some rumors about some things, and I think we definitely upgraded with our current wide receivers coach, and we saw the development of Nick Harbor throughout the season that may not have happened if we, maybe have kept the guy from last year that's now the coach at Illinois.
Early line, Vegas has us at minus 11.5 point favorites, over under 47.5. That tells me that they think we're going to win about 24.
Matches right up with the gin shot. Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
This is even a larger spread than any of those playoff predictions. So Vegas really likes us. I really like us. I think this is going to be a fun game to watch.
Yeah. Well, let's go for it. What do you got?
I mean, we'll dive a little bit deeper into it next week. So I don't want to give out my picks too much,
now.
but
right, we'll wait.
I'll do the one gin shot if they don't cover. Like,
how about we all do? If we don't cover, we all do the warm gin shot.
Yeah. This has like 20-point win written all over. I mean, we beat Texas A&M at home, and they got a better run game than Illinois. Like, come on now.
Yeah.
We beat them
I'll
by
tell you
3
what,
scores.
guys. I'm staring down the barrel of a 10-win season on New Year's Eve against Illinois in the Citrus Bowl. I would not have said that, in July or maybe even in August, looking at the schedule that we had that we were going into. So aside from anything else, the X's and O's here, this is a great opportunity for us to stamp the season, to go into next year, to win a bowl game, to get more recruits, because on top of everything else, winning the Citrus Bowl, saying we are Citrus Bowl champions is something you can say to a recruit that you could not say before this game.
Alabama can't say it. Ole Miss can't say it.
No one else in the SEC who didn't make the playoff can say it. So, so I'm happy with that. All right. Well, we'll get into that a little more next week, especially with some other things we're going to talk about with the coaching staff and our AD at South Carolina. That's some things coming up, but we want to go over a little bit and talk about things that are starting to creep up now for the Gamecocks and every team across the country with recruiting. So we're deep into recruiting at this point. We're already an eye on next year. The portal is starting to open. That's something else to think about that we'll get to. But recruiting specifically, thinking about the bowl games up next, and right after that is going to be visits and signings, and that some of that's already happened. For you guys so far, where have we succeeded? What are your top early signings? What are your notes here for coach? How do we move forward recruiting for this team?
All right, so I think the most exciting recruit that I like was a late comer to the class. I think he was a signing. I don't know if it was a signing day surprise, but it came in on the 11th, 12th hour. My guy is Christian Ingram. He's listed as a D lineman, or he could play probably across the line, but he is a massive human being. He's 6'6", 6'7", around 290. He's a 3-star, but high 3-star. He's out of Conyers. We beat out mainly Southern Cal, which, if you're beating out a quote-unquote blue blood from a Power 5 program, you're doing something good. We also beat out, I think, Georgia offered, Michigan offered. From what I've gathered, he's got not only the size, but he's got great footwork, great speed, great hands. Excited to see what he can do. And I want to see that size again. We haven't had that kind of size on the D-line really since do you guys remember Clifton Gathers, big kid out of I think he was out
Oh
of Green
yeah,
Bay near Georgetown. Yeah,
number 8. Yeah,
that
he
mug
wore a
was he
different number
was
too. Yeah.
yeah 6'7", 6'8", about
Whew.
floating around that 285, 290. Just seeing someone that size with that kind of power just manhandle someone, I'm excited about that. To me, that would be my guy that I'm going to follow. That's going to be my little thing. But as far as who I think is an instant impact guy for the Gamecocks, and especially going into next year, and I think kind of what we were hoping for, where we're getting the tools for Lenore's to be successful next year and take the game to the next level, is our highest rated recruit, wide receiver out of Rock Hill, 6'3", probably about 185, 190, Malik Clark. This guy has got it all. He's got size, he's got speed, he's got hands, good body control, can go up and get the ball, 50-50 guy. I think we beat out Florida State, Tennessee, several other big-time programs. Really excited about him. But there's also another receiver we beat out Penn State for. Sam, who was that guy?
Man, Lex Cyrus, brother, man, he's a speedy guy, 5'10", I think he's about 175, 180 pounds. He reminds me of Ace Sanders a little bit. You know, he's got that kind of that speed. He's a good route runner, crisp.
How about on special teams?
Yeah, we might see him, returning punts back there. Remember that when we played Georgia that one year, and Ace Sanders had that great punt return.
Guys, these names they sound like studs. Malik Clark just sounds like a guy that it rolls off the tongue. Lex Cyrus sounds like a supervillain gonna take over the world. But I see what you guys are saying. Look, you snuck in Christian Ingram, D-line, protect what we got, and then maximize it, get us some length, some speed. 290, 6'9". I don't even need to know anything about football. I'm 6'4", barely, and I'm 210. This guy's got me by 2 inches and 80 pounds. That's monstrous.
And he's probably a little bit faster than you two, Mike.
I'm gonna take a he's got me by 20 years.
I think he's got
a
little yeah. It's funny. We were talking about the recruiting class yesterday, Buster, and you and I must have been on the exact same page, right? Like trenches and get some superstar wideouts and get some weapons for Lenore's, right? And so, we both like Christian Ingram. I like Lex Cyrus. I do like Malik Clark. Lex Cyrus, I think, brings another dimension towards that kind of complementary wide receiver that you see from Malik. Malik's a guy that can jump up, get the ball. You think about fade routes. You think about those quote unquote moon balls, right? Malik Clark's definitely a guy that gets that. I love Lex Cyrus. I love his route running ability. Great slot guy, speedster. I think to your point, Mike, we might see him return some punts. Another guy.
That's something a supervillain does. Return punts.
A little bit of everything, right? And yes, he did select us over Penn State, which is I think great because
that's nice.
We're
look,
on Penn State a little bit. I do like Mike Tyler a lot too. Right down the street from where you live, Buster. Tight end, just caught the state championship touchdown. I think it was about a week or two ago. To win the championship. Was it Hammond High School is where he's from, I think?
Hammond School, private school here in Columbia, South Carolina. Actually, from my old house, it was 2 streets over. So I used to actually hear them play on Friday night.
You could see those Friday night lights, huh, Coach?
Indeed.
And you know what I love too? I love that he flipped from LSU. So once again, the LSU coaching shit talk from me continues.
And I think, look, fans out there, I think you're seeing the trend here. Some offensive weapons, some protection.
It's a good defensive weapon. What do you Mike? No. One good defensive weapon that you like. Who's the guy you like?
We'll get to that. Is the tight end as well, not necessarily always an offensive position. We need that block on that blind side. That's something a tight end's going to do. Those are those X's and O's. Yep. But the only thing I just want to mention before I get into my picks, because mine are a little higher level than yours, and I respect you guys on this a lot, because I see these players, but I don't necessarily go to the high school level. And I mean, Buster, you're on the ground, and Sam, you're doing your homework. But what hits me, know where Rock Hill is. I fly into Charlotte. I drive down to Columbia. I drive right through Rock Hill. I went to college with people from Rock Hill. Rock Hill is South Carolina. And if you're in Rock Hill, you want to play for the Gamecocks, and he wants to play for the Gamecocks. And same thing with that tight end, Sam, hometown guy, won a championship right up the street from Willie B. He stands in the shadow of that stadium. He wants to win at that stadium. Now these guys can play for a national program that will support them in that way, and they got a quarterback that's going to put it on the numbers, so they better be ready. But yeah, for mine, continuing some of the trend, I got Xavier Hardy, DN. I'm going the other side of the ball. I think, Kennard is going to go. We got some other guys that are going to go. We need to keep that defense so that Sellers can get the ball. And Hardy seems like the guy that can do it. We've been working on him for a little while. 6'5", 260, coming out of East Mississippi Community College in Scuba, Mississippi. We're not going scuba diving, but we're in Mississippi at Scuba. And Buster, you had a story there. You've been there?
I'm not going to admit that I've been there. I would say maybe like passed through. So Xavier's from Macon. Definitely been to Macon. I've partied in Macon. I've had friends that are from Macon. Love it. But going to Scuba, you're in the South when you're in Scuba, Mississippi.
Yeah. He's stepping up. He's stepping up coming to the Gamecocks. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's definitely the guy that was originally recruited by us, had to go the JUCO route. Understandable. It happens. And I think for him to come back here after he was, originally committed to Mississippi State, decommitted, flipped to us.
Had offers everywhere, all over the country.
Offers, and you know what? Here's a really funny thing. Everything we've said just far about any of these players, they've had offers from big time programs, and these weren't just like courtesy offers. Like sometimes that happens in high school recruiting. You will put out.
We're talking Florida here. We're talking all the big ones, and then outside
there are times where a big time program will offer someone, and I call it a courtesy offer because it's an offer, but it's more like, hey, we're trying to get your teammate to commit to us because he's the big 4 or 5 star guy, and he wants to play with you, so we'll offer you as well, or we just need like space to fill up our class. No, these guys had legitimate offers from Power 5 and SEC programs, like I said, Southern Cal, Penn State, Mississippi State in the SEC, Florida, Tennessee,
LSU.
LSU. Like these guys had legitimate offers, and we're going here on Shane Beamer's 4th year. Again, he was not a head coach before this. He had to build this program in his mold, and also we're getting guys that can take us to the next level. We're getting weapons for Lenore's. Like you said, Sam, we're getting guys in the trenches that in the SEC, that's where you win and lose games, is in the trenches. And we're getting guys that are upgrades of talent.
Sure.
And we're not even talking about the portal yet. We're just talking about high school kids. So, I mean, come on.
Do you guys want to hear an interesting stat that kind of echoes a little bit of what you're saying, Buster, about culture and Shane Beamer? This is fast turning into the Shane Beamer love show, right? Which is fine.
I'll take it.
So
I'm on the Shane train.
I put out. Yeah, me too, man. All aboard, baby. Woo.
Yeah, you can't really blame him either. I mean, he's on a heater. He's on a big ass heater. So
interesting talk. And Mike, this kind of goes around to what you always bring up, right? How does this affect NIL, things like that? So I put out a tweet a couple days ago, and at the time we had the 19th ranked recruiting class. I think we're a little bit higher now, 15th, I think. But at the time, and so shout out to 3 on Sports, like they do a great job of throwing out NIL value so you can kind of assess it and see it yourself. So we're sandwiched, at the time we were sandwiched between Oklahoma, Missouri, and Nebraska, right? Oklahoma 17, Missouri 18, Nebraska 20. The NIL value of all of those schools is well over 100,000. Our NIL average value, 73,000. So we were nearly half the amount of NIL given out to players. And we're still competing. Like we're still competing in the recruiting classes. And I think this echoes both of what you guys are saying. Like guys just want to play here and they want to play for Beamer.
Well, if I'm not wrong, Sam, where they're getting some of those statistics is like national exposure. How often are we on ESPN? How often are we talked about? How often are we in the media, right? I mean, who's talking about Nebraska, right? Like, what does it matter what Nebraska does? Like,
but their boosters are paying the players more than our players right now on the recruiting show. You can see. So,
but it's kind of a sinking ship. They don't have.
No, you're right.
Yeah, they don't have the things that we're talking about, and I think that as fans, right? We've always been at the door, or maybe kind of tapping at the door, but we're kicking that door down. We're just busting in. We were, I don't know, I'm Edward Norton in some movie. Fine. Now we're Arnold Schwarzenegger coming in through the window. Like we want to play anybody, everybody. We'll show you what we got. That's not something any of those other teams are doing. Missouri did well this year. We are showing like guys, you know, just like I do, when we looked at when the schedule came out, whenever it came out, we were like, what the hell we got to do?
Yeah, Ole Miss,
Like, do you see that
Alabama,
stretch?
Yeah.
And then
Oklahoma.
talking about it now in retrospect, I can't even believe the words coming out of my mouth. You know,
But
that
here's
we're
the
on the
thing,
meeting
like
that we're
the
on.
biggest thing with
We used
NIL.
to celebrate beating one ranked team. Oh wow, we beat Alabama one time, we beat Georgia one time. Now we do it every week.
Now
And
we
The
the
that's-
biggest
bully, baby.
issue with the NIL, and it's not, I can say issue, just lack of a better word.
It's just what it
thing with the
is.
NIL, the NIL, do we need some level of regulation? Like there's pros and cons. Like it's been talked about ad nauseum for this past year or so, or actually since
like the
start. Yeah.
SEC has to
But
monitor
like,
the SEC.
here's the
That's kind of
deal:
funny.
we're bringing in quality recruits, whether it's from the high school ranks, transfer portal, whatever. We're bringing in guys that are upgrades of talent, athleticism, whatever you want to call it. The way we pay them is having a season like we had this year. Our NIL situation has vastly improved over the last couple of months, just based on the pure fact that we are playing lights out. We are a brand. We are a national level brand. I mean, not obviously like long term, but shout out to Pardon My Takes Big Cat. He put us in his power rankings for the week as the hottest team in the country. So we were in conversations about why we should be in the college football playoff. They were people that were going to bat for us on a national level, that why we got snubbed. There was people going to bat for us that we got screwed by the rest in that LSU game.
Yeah.
When you get to that level, then you are developing a brand, and then that happens to help your NIL to the point when you bring in these quality recruits, you're going to be able to support them. And then this is not even getting into the revenue sharing thing that's supposed to come in July. I don't know anything about it. It's finance. I'm not good with money. That's why my wife does the checkbook. But when we get into that and kind of understand what revenue sharing means for the university, how it helps our athletes, what the advantages are, we're really going to see, I think, Carolina be at the forefront of this NIL situation, to where not only can we bring in the quality recruits, we're going to keep them. And we're going to keep them because of obviously what Shane has done for the culture of the program. But we're going to keep them in the sense of they're going to have a security financially that says, hey, you play for us. Not only are you going to feel like you're part of a family, not a team, a family, you're part of the brotherhood on the football team, but you're going to be compensated for the amazing work you do on and off the field. Yeah. So that, to me, we're seeing a little bit of that evidence now, and we'll talk about this later. I do have a guy that,
and we don't, we don't know, right? I mean, it's a new landscape. I mean, we know what we see at other schools, right? I watch WNBA games. I watch Caitlin Clark. I watched her play against us. I watched them beat us. Well, get into that championship game, and then I watched her lose to us and still make money and go play in the WNBA. Different situation with that sport right now, because she doesn't make any money really playing for the WNBA. It's all off of everything she's doing. She's kind of like still on the NIL train. But I mean, I think it's as simple as like, really old adage in football, right? Winning cures everything. Yeah. I mean, that's a simple way here to just kind of say that's part of it. That might even be the bulk of it. But the seeds were sown a long time ago. I mean, us as fans and as college kids, we saw the commitment to the program, and we knew guys that were that were there with the program. I saw Lou Holtz in person when he was announced, and I was lucky enough to be there when Steve Spurrier was announced. We were so surprised when Spurrier decided to come, and that was the first change, and we've seen other
Mike,
changes.
I think you and I might have been in that exact same classroom at the
I think we were. And that's all we can smile about that, and we'll talk about that. It'll creep in almost every conversation all the time. But other things that I've seen, right? Like when Marshawn Lattimore shattered his knees and was able to come back to the university and be part of the coaching staff and finish his degree. I think the other thing that's interesting about the NIL, I've had these conversations with my wife, who has a secondary degree and, some higher education than I have. But she never wanted guys to go pro. She wanted them to get their degrees. In a way, NIL is enabling these players to stay in school and get their degrees and make money at the same time. It's not the same system. I mean, I would have talked to you a long time ago about NCAA as a very minor form of slavery, because you're not able to, and there were players that told us this. Who was it who played for Tennessee, and then the Texans later. Oh man, played really well for Tennessee. And then when he was in the NFL, he talked about it a lot. Oh man, why am I
The
blanking?
Titans? What position?
Arian, was it Arian
Yeah,
Foster?
Aaron Foster. Yeah, Aaron
Yeah.
Foster played for Tennessee and then later the Texans, and talked about how when he played for Tennessee, he would go out and score 4 touchdowns and win the game and sell jerseys, and he could not even afford a sandwich to eat, and coach could not buy him a sandwich because that would incur an NCAA violation. That is not the world we're talking about anymore. And we've talked about it, college going pro. This is one of those things with conference realignment and all that money, and I and all that money. But I see it as positive. And to really think that if fans don't know this, which I think a lot of you do, a lot of this NIL stuff came out of a video game, a basketball game, started the class action lawsuit that got us where we are today.
Yeah, the O'Bannon
it's very,
case.
yeah, very
the O'Bannon case.
interesting thing. And if y'all play NCAA out there, which I'm sure you do, you have every single player in the country who's in that game got what, like $600 or something minimum to go in that game. This is a new league in some respects, and we're loving that the Gamecocks are where they are. But at the same time, it's really interesting. If we have this year that we have now, last year, it's not this new playoff. If it's next year, it's not the first playoff. So the timing of everything with where we are is no coincidence, but it's a nice bonus for me to watch it happen.
The way you were talking about the NCAA being like kind of like a slave institution, you guys ever see that South Park episode with the Crack Baby Athletic Association, and Cartman goes into the University of Colorado, is like, my oh my sir, what are you doing? How are you getting your student athletes to play and not pay them? Oh man, what a great episode.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's I'm not trying to, I don't think I'm reinventing the wheel saying that, and I'm not trying to accuse anybody of anything, but these players, if they hit, you basically have to go play college football to play in the NFL, right? Unless you're a kicker or something like that. So if you're from another country or whatever, you got to get here, you got to get a visa, you got to get the education, and all you got to do is get in there and show something, and then you go pro and you make the money. But does that help these players develop and get where they are? I mean, Sam Darnold is a great example of that, right? He had to find the right coach and the right system and look at him. And they're already like, oh, what are they going to do with him next year? Who cares? Watch him succeed. He's great. And the Jets didn't do a good job because he wasn't developed and he went early or whatever else. I think this sets us up for quality football across the board in college and pros, and gives a safety net for these players. So if they do get injured, which does happen, concussions are real at a very minimum, right?
I gotta imagine coaches and institutions are starting to take notice, and they're actually putting in like finance classes and seminars for these kids now. And I couldn't imagine Shane Beamer not having that being part of his like.
You got one of the best business schools and international business schools in the country.
Here's how you market yourself. Do it the right way, but also be smart. Trust people that you trust. Here's actually people that you can trust. Here's a folder, a list of people and agents that we trust. Right. So it's all good stuff. I'm very much positive. I think.
No, I think I was looking backward a bit, just saying what it was to show, the dichotomy now. But I think it's all good stuff. And in fact, we got off on a bit of a tangent there. I got to throw out my other player, and we'll keep it in the family. Some brotherly love here for Jaden Sellers, who is another recruit that we got, who is related to our star spotlight quarterback. And it's kind of funny to me, they list the recruiting guys who get this guy, whatever. Was it really that hard to get, Lenoris's brother on the squad? Probably not. Look, checks in a little smaller, 5'11", 165. He's fast. Obviously
very fast, very fast.
Profiles more as a slot guy, right? Maybe some special teams too, depending. But obviously, the culture fit, obviously making Lenoris comfortable. Obviously that's going to be something to watch. And I mean, guys, how much do we love brothers playing football, right? I mean, this is a real thing we get to see all the time. When
was the last time we had two brothers play together for Carolina? Because I remember Jordan and Dustin Lindsay, and I remember Jasper and Casper Brinkley.
I was going to say the Brinkleys
back in the day.
The Brinkleys are the first thing that came to mind. The twins.
Oh, we have Jalen Kilgore and Gerald Kilgore. I think they're brothers. I think they are
cousins.
Brothers. They're currently
it's rare.
Right,
it's rare. I mean, when you see it at any level, it's fun. Obviously, there's other tandems. Sam, your star Steeler player, has an older brother with the Watts. You know, they're a lot of fun. The Harbaugh.
Well, we got two brothers on the team
is
too.
interesting.
Connor Hayward. Connor Hayward has a brother. Excuse me, Cam Hayward, the stud defensive lineman. His brother is Connor Hayward. He plays kind of tight end, fullback, H-back kind of position there. Good hands on the hands team. So it's, you know, I get to see it almost every week.
Who else was it? The McCaffreys, right? Luke McCaffrey running routes. Even while for the Commanders, even while his brother Christian is out, unfortunately. But yeah, no, we see it a lot. Obviously, it's something that runs in football. I mean, you grow up together, you play football together, maybe you play college or pro together. It makes it a lot of fun. We'll see, you know, how that works out. But definitely wanted to spotlight him because that's something I think that really highlights what we talk about.
Well, I'm just glad that we have brothers like playing football together. I would definitely be a little concerned if it was a father-son duo playing football together, a little Ron and Ronnie. I would be like,
yeah,
right,
Dion wants to go out there with
the son. Yeah, little more questionable. But no, I think I'm really liking the Jade Sellers. I think I heard someone say that Lenores is not even the best athlete in his family. So if that is, and again, that's obviously nothing on Lenores. Don't worry. But if we are getting that kind of athlete that he has built-in chemistry to throw to, what are we looking at next year offensively?
Yeah, and I mean the recruiting, like I said, it couldn't have been that hard, and Lenores probably does most of it for you.
It's the Lenores factor, man. I mean, you see all these young cats that want to play with him, right? Like, you really can't. Or like, this is my opinion, right? It's not a fact, but like, totally. My opinion's not gonna be swayed on this one. Like, guys want to play with him.
Yeah, and we are biased here, right? Because you know how much fun this could be. You know these two have been playing football a long time. You know they got a couple trick plays. They got a couple things up their sleeves. Some stuff coach is going to let them try.
Listen, I am not biased. I am unbiased. I am reasonable. I am logical and objective. All of my arguments have valid evidence. And Lenores is the best quarterback in the SEC, and everybody wants to play for him, and that's how we do it.
Drop it. Okay. All right. So those are our recruits. You know, keep us honest there. If you guys have recruits you think kind of are more impactful from this, or you got something, let us know. We really want to know. Maybe we'll do more of this and spotlight the whole recruiting class if that's what everybody wants. But we're gonna dip a little bit in this portal. So just some early storylines. You know, it did open on December 4th. It closes right after the Christmas holiday on the 28th. What are we thinking here? Sam, how are we doing retaining? Who are we looking at getting? You know, what's a quick hot take here for how we've done so far?
Yeah, still a lot of players got to make visits, right? There hasn't been a whole lot of movement. I think that's just because players are smarter. They want to take the time to actually make sure they're making the right decisions for themselves. We did lose a couple of reserve players, and Buster's got some of those guys that he knows that went to reserve. So kudos to Buster for letting us know that. Couple in terms of targets, I know we made an offer to this linebacker. Andrew Jones from I think he was the SWAC co-defensive player of the year. Versatile, got a big body. He can play as the 3 or the 4. He can blitz. He can go into pass coverage. Really excited to see if he signs. I also saw something. Rocket Sanders has been hyping up on Twitter, on X, just saying any player that's leaving Arkansas, he's just shouting them out. Like, it's a dog. Where's he going? I'm like, is he recruiting for us? Like, what? I kind of
he's totally recruiting. He's totally recruiting for us.
Good. He's just trying to pull, like, he's like some like corporate poacher who's just trying to pull anyone. Like, hey guys, it's great over here. Come on over.
I got my popcorn, man. I've been loving the show on Twitter, man. He's just putting it out there all the time, like saying like this dog's coming out. This dog. They're all like offensive linemen too, which is you can never have. I guess
if you blaze that trail and that's what you did and it worked for you and you know it can work for them, go ahead. I just I hope he's not trolling his coach or doing anything like that, but if it worked for him and it can work and this portal is open, I mean, I remember when you burned a year when you transferred, right? We talked a little bit about some people that coach Cam Newton, but I remember, I was like, wait, what's going on? Cam Newton's going to go play JUCO for a year and just do that and house those teams and then come back. But now you don't have to do that. And it's a business. And if you're trying to recruit, that's recruiting, So,
well, I've always felt with the transfer portal how it is now, because it's different than what it used to be. What it is now is you're plugging gaps that you couldn't fill in high school recruiting. But I think more importantly, and especially coming from the Gamecocks perspective, and Shane Beamer's, and again, this is I don't know exactly what Shane Beamer has planned and his philosophy, but to me, it feels like not only do we fill gaps where we need it, but then where we are heavy on young talent, you need a veteran type person to kind of lead them and move them along. So, for me, what we did this year, we had a gap in defensive end, defensive line. We got Kyle Kennard. That was a perfect fit. We were going to have gaps at linebacker with two guys, Pup Howard and Stone Blanton, transferring out last year. We got Demetrius Knight in, help fill the gaps there. This year, we'll have some gaps in a couple of places, but to me, I feel like if we're hitting the transfer portal, we're getting leadership at young positions. So if you look at wide receiver, we got a lot of great talent coming in, but they're young. They're all high school. Malik Clark, like Cyrus, Jordan Gidron. Maybe we go after a guy like Dane Key out of Kentucky. Like you said, Sam, the Grambling State linebacker, Andrew Jones. Well, we've got that there is a gap there, but we got some great young talent in Fred Johnson and Fred J.R. Johnson, excuse me, and Wendell Gregory. But maybe we need a veteran leader there in Andrew Jones. I look at the fact that tight end, Michael Smith, star true freshman tight end out of Savannah this past year. We got Mo Brown, the walk-on that just got a scholarship. That's great talent, great athleticism. But maybe we get Luke Haas out of Arkansas. He's an experienced and veteran person. And the same thing, as we've done with the offensive line this year, going into next year. We got great talent in Josiah, Tree Babalade, Trovon Bowe, Cam Pringle, Marquis Anderson, a lot of young guys. Maybe we go get a veteran guy that can help solidify that line to be able to protect Lenoris. Yeah, so to me, if we're looking at offensively, what we need to do is we talk about giving weapons to Lenoris, but I think from a developmental standpoint and going into the second year, he's going to have very, very exciting wide receivers. I'm excited about the running back room as well. We can talk about that some other time. But you still need to give him that safety valve of the tight ends. And I think that's where having that complete offense is what is needed for Lenoris to take the next level. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, we've been kind of skirting around that, right? We were talking about our recruits, and Sam hit the tight end who won a high school championship up the street. I feel like that, right? When I see, even at the NFL level, but at the college level, the tight end is a very versatile position. It needs to be able to first and foremost protect Lenoris, and we've been able to do that, right? We don't see him getting hit on the blind side. We don't see creative defensive formations really getting in and crushing him, right? So that's good. But how do we build on that, right? We've talked about a lot of wide receivers. We'll improve some there. We have some returning wide receivers who are going to grow their route trees, and we got some guys with some speed for the length of the field like that. But at tight end, yes, safety valve, but creatively, right? Tight ends go in motion. Could show a little more motion. That'll help show Lenoris is it zone, is it man? Help him make reads or hot reads or even audibles that he wasn't doing before, or even different formations. If he wants to go, a little more naked, no one in the backfield. That's not something we did a ton of, but it looks like he can make that work. And a little more of his scripted runs, right? Like I said, you could get some tight end sets on one side that set some blocks that get him or into the screen game. For me, for the portal, I hear what you guys are saying, and I want weapons, and I want to protect him. But I also think we got to restock the cupboard at running back. We got two graduating seniors. Rocket was our main guy. Attaway's probably gone as well. I'm keeping an eye on A.J. Allen with Miami. He's entered the portal. I'm excited if he does play in his bowl game to watch the Pop-Tarts Bowl. That'll be a fun one. And I want to see what happens with that mascot. But at the same time, I think if he does play, coach is going to watch that footage, and that's a guy that may be thinking twice about moving from the ACC to the SEC to be a feature player, right? I mean, Miami was up in it, but Miami found ways to lose, and they kind of walked their way out of things, and maybe he'd rather be somewhere like here where he knows it can step in and run. Now, I don't know that coach is going to do that, but that was someone that I was keeping an eye on. At least I saw at the top of the portal. Who were you looking at, Sam?
Well, yeah, I like Andrew. I like the move for Andrew Jones, I believe his name was from Grambling.
Grambling State, yeah.
Grambling State,
huge
yeah,
good one.
Grambling State, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much every single person that Rocket Sanders is hyping up from Arkansas, I'm on board with, because Arkansas's got some dogs, some big dogs right there that are
yes. To speak of our running back,
that
right?
can run the ball. So to your point, Mike, if we can get someone like a Jay Allen or something like that, it would be nice to have the big boys blocking for him. You know what I mean?
You know what's funny, Sam, is like, I'm excited about the potential for this offense.
Yeah.
Just with the receivers coming in, I love the tight ends. Michael Smith was absolutely athletic. He was a freak of an athlete. Mike, I am confident in Jawarn Howell and Matthew Fuller. I would like a veteran guy to come in and kind of
that's all.
steer the
Something
ship.
to round out the room.
The biggest thing to me is how are these tools are going to be used with Lenoris now that we don't have Dowell Loggains anymore. He just got
accepted the job. Our next bit.
Yeah, he just accepted the job to App State. Kudos to him, because I've always said if you are a coordinator and you leave the school, it better be for a promotion, and that's a great promotion. App State is a great school, great program, a lot of success there. I do remember them beating Michigan. I won a lot of money on that one.
App State is a team that, they pop up on this new awesome quad box thing I got from YouTube TV, and I'm watching that game and I'm listening to that game. App State shows up for big games. They play well at home. They play well on the road. They end up, they're creative and they bring things like speed and schemes and they do things with their players that's really fun. And I think kudos to him. It sounds like Coach Beamer was involved in that. And, they did talk about the bowl game, and he did want to make sure that this was a fit and that he was going to the right program. And it hurts a little, but this is something that I feel like I see with coaches that I look up to, that are coaches that I know have it, right? They build a coaching tree eventually. They're good enough coaches that they are coaching their coaches, so much so that they can grow and become head coaches. Now, does that help the program? Not necessarily. There's nothing that's like, oh, wow, you're a great coach and your coaches are everywhere and you got a big tree, that means you win. No, but I think it does garner respect. It helps with things like recruiting. Like if you're a recruit and you're looking at App State and you're kind of a big fish in that pond, well, you think Loggains is going to put in a call to Beamer and he might get a shot for South Carolina? That's what it does for me, I think. I might be wrong.
There's one advantage, Mike. There's one advantage. If you have a significant coaching tree with a proven track record of success, we're going to say Nick Saban. And you see your guys
is the one in everyone's mind.
Yeah. And even Mac Brown to a degree, shout out to him for getting fired from UNC. But with a large coaching tree, you have shown that you are a coach that develops success as far as assistant coaches. So you have up and comers that a lot of people don't know about, but are really excited. Like I always look at, let's say, Jamie Chatwell, that was down at Coastal. I think he was at Liberty this past year. There's a lot of guys that are not nationally known, but have the moxie to be a coach. All it takes is for you to say, hey, I want to go coach with that guy because his coaching tree looks very good. And all of a sudden, it's easier for you to bring in when you have a coach that leaves for a promotion, not a lateral move. Justin Stepp, wide receivers coach, Fighting Illini. When you get a promotion and you need to replace that coach, but you don't want to disrupt the apple cart and have people have players leave because you're not sure about a coach taking over. You want a coach that can come in and elevate your program, keep it on the right track, keep the players in. You want a guy that is going to be like hot stuff. And the only way to get guys that have the legit talent to be a coach are the ones that are going to come to your program because they see that you have a phenomenal coaching tree. So that's where I think an advantage lies. At the same time, like people will say naysayers will say, oh, well, this is Beamer's third OC. Well, technically it's not the third OC because the first OC was Mike Bobo, retained after Muschamp was fired. Mike Bobo decided to go behind Shane's back and try to get a deal with Auburn, which obviously didn't work out because he got fired after a year. Shout out to Mike Bobo for screwing up a good deal there.
Hey, Bobo. Yeah, I mean, let's be
Center-
clear. Retaining is not the same as hiring, right?
Exactly.
Not
So,
firing someone is not
you know,
hiring them again.
Did we make a mistake with our second OC and Marcus Satterfield? I think so. But at the time, Shane didn't have enough experience as a head coach. He didn't have a coaching tree. So we weren't getting the first choices here and there and this and that. So Shane was going after someone that he thought had a unique approach to calling offensive plays. Obviously,
he's
that
smarter
didn't
now.
work out.
He's learned.
Exactly. But we landed on someone good like Dowell Loggains. Did he struggle his first year? Yes, but we struggled offensively his first year because we had maybe 3 healthy linemen that could barely block a pickup truck. So he was not able to call the plays and develop the offense that he wanted to.
Yeah,
Now that
totally
this past
different
year,
offense, right? With Rattler bombing down
this
the
past
field.
year, he got Lenore Sellers, a phenomenal athlete and a guy that can run a dual threat type offense, but still be able to make the throws and get the runs. And you saw how good the offense was under him. So I think now, we don't say that we're on our third OC. This is not a disadvantage of Beamer. To me, this is an advantage of Beamer because it shows that we are not only upgrading talent, but we're upgrading coaching talent as well. And the fact that we should have been in the playoffs, that's an argument for another day.
Yeah, we've talked about
we'll
that.
not go there, but we are in a position of power right now. You make a great OC hire, which he did. We found out this morning. We'll talk about that in a bit. Couple that with the talent that has decided to stay and not transfer. I think we're in for a level of success, not just for next year, but for the next couple of years that Gamecock fans have not seen outside of those couple of years with Connor Shaw and Jadeveon Clowney.
Right. Yeah, we've talked about that. Yeah, so, no, I'm with you. It feels like the base that we have this year is there. What was this year can be next year. Definitely, all the same pieces are in play. It feels like recruiting and portal wise, we can plug guys in that why they might not do exactly what Kennard did. We'll farm those guys up. We got to do that. And we've identified, we haven't said every single position. There's we can add to the defense. That would be nice. We can add to the O-line. We got to do that. And we need some offensive players. We're doing all of that already. So anything else new that comes feels like you're adding on. And the more you add on feels like another win and another win. Yeah. And that means you're getting to 10, 11. Whoa. Now, I don't know about that because I don't know about the schedule. That's the only other thing that's going to hold me up from just anointing next year as good as this year.
I think our schedule did just come out. I'll have to look at that. I think the schedule did just come out. Not sure.
That could be next week's episode. We'll talk about that next week's episode.
Look, I'm not saying that that's determining everything, but we saw the way this schedule played out. We knew that if we could win certain games in a certain order with this schedule, we could be there, and we were right there. So next year is that you did that. Now you add to that, right? And if we add, wow, and we could win the same number of games, but if they're bigger games in different places, sky's the limit.
We technically would have been there this year if it wasn't for the refs.
For the LSU game.
You know what,
we've said that. Yeah,
guys, we talk about so I'm gonna be the contrarian here, right? I know we want to sit here and we talk about coaching trees and how it makes us feel good. Listen, I'm really happy for Dowell Loggains. Really happy. I liked him. I know a lot of South Carolina Twitter apparently did not. But I'm a fan of his. I think he grew up in a big way. Grew a lot. I'm sure he's going to make for a fabulous head coach, but I'm not going to be cheering for him. I'm going to be cheering for my Gamecocks. So
you don't care about Mountaineers.
Hope you do well, Dowell Loggains. But we see on the other side of the field. Guess what? We're going to kick your ass. That's what we're going to do. I don't know.
Hands.
I'm not necessarily I get what you guys are saying with coaching tree and how it could maybe factor into recruiting. Certainly, it could probably help us in terms of national media spotlight. But we already saw, like you guys said, you win, you're in the national media spotlight. And speaking of replacing that OC, Buster, I'm starting to think you might be the inside source that everyone's talking about because you nailed the Mike Shula hire, brother.
I am not an inside source
by
any stretch of the imagination.
The inside cock.
It's one of those where I don't. Is that my?
No, sorry. It's just
that's going to be.
We'll put that on your OnlyFans. That's what we'll do.
Yeah, that's my OnlyFans account. That's definitely my OnlyFans account.
No, he's right though. You called it, Buster. We were chatting about this before the hire. We had some names. I threw out I threw out a name from UNLV, Brendan Marion. Shout out the Rock Boys. I was watching them, and they were talking about that. I thought that was creative. But yeah, I mean, guys, this fits with everything else we've said, right? Culture, keeping things the same. I mean, that's why he's there, right?
Well, that's the thing is what I have learned and kind of figured out, and like this, and again, this comes from information from several reliable sources, and I explored the message boards, I read every article, I talk to people, I try to get as much information from a bunch of different perspectives and try to get what I can find out. The way I looked at it was Dowell wanted to bring in Mike Shula. Mike Shula is Gamecock fans may kind of cringe a little bit at his name because he was not a successful head coach at Alabama.
Not at all.
Totally understandable. But what they don't realize was that being a head coach and being a coordinator are two different things. You could be an outstanding offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and not be a good coach. We've seen it. We could literally have an entire episode and just list names of coordinators that ended up not being good head coaches. The fact of the matter is he's got a good offensive mind. He understands his X's and O's. He was brought in as an analyst because of that. He was also known as a quarterback whisperer, developmental guy. By the way, Cam Newton's best years in Carolina, who was his guy? That's right, Mike Shula. Yeah. Daniel Jones, who, I don't know, is what, New York Giants bust? I don't know. What do you think, Mike?
Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Here's the deal. His best year as a New York Giant was when Mike Shula was there developing it.
And similar skill set, running the ball, right? His legs. He did it with his legs.
How did Lenoris get true freshman of the year this year? Because he got developed by a guy named Mike Shula. So you couple all that with the fact that when you got a good thing going, you don't try to change it up. You do not try to flip the apple cart. You don't do anything different. You don't want a new scheme. You go with what you got. Mike Shula was here. He understood the concepts and the scheme of this offense. And he's worked with the guys on the offensive side of the ball, including Sean Elliott, the run game coordinator. It makes sense. Why would you go outside of the program when you have a guy that can certainly fit, has a good relationship with Lenoris, and you don't have to change up anything?
Totally.
That's a good point, Buster.
Is this?
It maximizes Lenoris and his window, right? It's less changes at the pro level. Perfect. You can do that.
Yeah.
You could take a Josh Allen and you could have a new OC like they did, right? Dable went to the Giants.
That's the thing.
It could also make sense for Cutter Woods, 3-star quarterback out of Anderson that signed on signing day. So it could help him out as well too.
I think the best thing that I ever saw was and I can't remember who said it, but credit to them. Once I find out, I'll give you credit. Shout out to you. The best thing I ever heard is you're not making a hire for 5 to 10 years down the road. What you're doing is you're making a hire to maximize what you have right now. Right now, we are building something special with Lenoris at the helm. Let's just maximize that right now. We'll figure the other shit out down the road. But when we got
the only other question this brings up for me is yes, promoting from within checks the boxes, culture keeps things the same, already comfortable with sellers, might even already know his brother, right? So kids already ready to go, already met him. My only thing is longer term, like Sam started saying, the next quarterback. Are you saying that Shula is the OC for the next years? I don't think so. I think it's Sellers, but after that, I don't see Shula as our OC for 3+ years.
I'm fine. To be honest, I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with that too,
because there's going to be someone else that's in. You guys talk about coaching tree. This is where coaching tree matters, and it's in the program, right? If you have a quarterback coach or an offensive line coach that knows the system, you promote him, right? So
there's no ramp up.
This is where I agree with you guys on coaching tree. Internally, you hire guys that have the same vision. They have the exact same desire to play. They see the way that what you're building. They have they understand what it takes on and off the field. That's where the coaching tree matters. It's in-house, right? So you promote guys in-house. So you get these guys in here that are familiar with it. So that's where I'm not too concerned about Shula leaving after 3 years.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I'm glad you say that, because from what you were saying earlier, I'm like, he doesn't care about coaching tree at all. No, at times it does matter. But for me, that actually wasn't my question. The question that I have as Buster finishes his drink is okay, so you're promoting from within and Shula's moving up. But now you got to grow another little root. who's moving into Shula's spot where he was before. I want to hear that follow up, and I want to know who.
We don't have to worry about that. Like
It's
the
enter
analyst
GA
position
here.
you,
Yeah.
you find like there are so many people out there that have a phenomenal level of knowledge of football from the X's and O's, like that
Yep.
schematic kind of knowledge. And those guys may not be ready for primetime coaching at any sort of level, like
Right.
not even necessarily Power 5 SEC level, but they just have such great knowledge. You bring them in, you use their knowledge to enhance your football team, and at the same time you're teaching them the ways and means of coaching and running a football program in the SEC. The idea is like this: like, who cares about 5 years down the road? Because if you are winning now with a OC that understands, and you have Lenoris and the talent on this team, and you take us to the next level. Like, again, we are on the cusp of the playoffs this year. That Vegas had us at what, 4.5 wins, barely 5 wins.
Yeah.
We were on the cusp of the playoffs.
They're going to have us at least 8 next year. Yeah.
You improve on that. We're in the playoffs next year. All that to say, so when Lenoris graduates or Mike Shula decides to or gets a promotion of any sort, you're going to be in a better position now because you're like, oh, well, look at this coaching tree. We were in the playoffs. You're going to have so many qualified, talented individuals knocking on your door to be the next offensive coordinator. The idea is you build success now because that success leads to better opportunities in the future. So win now, baby. And that's what we're doing. Shane Train, choo-choo motherfucker.
And I think, like, to your point, Buster, the thing I love about the choo-choo Shane Train is that he's promoting healthy competition within the organization, right? He's very transparent about that, hey, you know, not only do you have to be a good person, you got to be good on the field as well.
Yeah.
So what that does is now promotes healthy competition for people within the organization to want those roles. They want to be the next Mike Shula, right? You get a GA, right? You maybe like somebody like you know, I know he just went to the transfer portal, but somebody like Robbie Ashford could have been like a GA, learned under, you know, Beamer for a couple of years, learned under Mike Shula, and be like, hey, you know what? I might be able to be a good coach because I do like Robbie Ashford, and good luck to him in the transfer portal. I hope he starts and plays what he wants and gets his deal. But that, you hit the nail on the head, Buster. That's all it is. Like, win now. We've got everything we need to succeed, and we're gonna show you how.
Yeah. And I think on top of everything else, you know, with the way they're structuring the bowl game and this hire, I mean, we're gonna see what our in a future episode we'll talk about our preseason ranking and where that sets us up at the beginning of the season, right? The beginning of the season this year, having what they were saying was 4.5 wins, and looking at the schedule, it was an uphill battle to get ranked and get to an area, you know, on the national stage. But we got there with what we did this year and the body of work.
Yeah.
Assuming what we've picked in our bowl prediction, when we'll talk about more next week. You know, you end up winning that game against Illinois, and you end up housing them maybe, and then you get a recruiting class, and there is signing day, and all of a sudden the spring game looks a lot different. You never know what that preseason ranking could be. You know, I really am more interested about what we end up being preseason ranked in the SEC and what our schedule ends up determining that. But there starts being a lot of exciting events, which makes good news for us because there's going to be a lot more to talk about than there would have been in all of those instances, right? I don't even know that I caught more than 15 minutes of the spring game last year. You better believe I'm watching the whole damn thing this year.
I mean, the idea is like this, like, you know, whenever we talk about coaching trees or whatever, like what we're doing with the football program, and this is kind of encompassing, you know, the recruiting transfer portal, the OC hire. Right. Shout out to our new AD Jeremiah. I've heard some good things. We'll talk about that. TCU. But the idea is that everything that we're doing for this program is more about putting good fertilizer, nurturing the soil, giving the plants plenty of water. We're growing it to such a point that we don't have to struggle where we struggled previously. We don't have to struggle about bringing in talent. We don't have to struggle about losing talent in the transfer portal. We don't have to struggle about getting our second or third choice in some kind of coordinator or position coach search. We are setting ourselves up so we get first choice in coaching talent. We get 0 opt-outs in a bowl game. We are getting very, very small number of transfer outs, and those that are transferring out reserves that want a better opportunity.
And we want to let them
we
leave,
want,
so they'll play, and that fits our culture. It's
and
like all up to us. Yeah.
And then we get our chef's pick of the transfers coming in, and instead of losing out to Ohio State's and Alabama's, we're getting the top-notch transfers. Like the Grambling State guy, I've heard he's phenomenal. Andrew Jones, linebacker. We're going up against Michigan's, Ohio State's, and Alabama's, and Georgia's. For a guy like that, if we build if we are building what Shane is creating, then getting someone like that is easier for us rather than, hey, maybe we'll get the leftover scraps. We've had to deal with that, and Shane's like, enough. I'm making these changes. I'm doing these things. I'm building this culture, this program, so that we never have to struggle again.
Yeah, and we're doing it the right way too, right? Like all that stuff, but like doing it the absolute right way to make sure that guys are set up for success, not just on the field in the draft, right, but off the field as men. Yeah. And so that's really
as really graduates.
Cool to see. As men graduates, like not even like after, like, you know, just a human being, just being a good human being that actually has a lot to offer to this world.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited to see where Kennard lands and the leader that he is.
Yeah,
I could see him going for Walter Payton Man of the Year very soon.
Oh yeah, Kyle Kennard, but I think what the encapsulating part about being a good person off the field and a human being and someone that is empathetic to the world around him. There's that video, Gamecock FB, Twitter, Instagram. Shout out Justin King and the media team. There's a picture or video of Demetrius Knight on the sideline after the victory over Clemson. He's crying. He's like, "This for God did this." It was the most powerful. As much as I love the highlights, and I have watched the highlights at least 1.5 million times, that video got me more than any of the other videos because it showed a humanity that these guys, they're playing their guts out, but they're playing more for who they represent as a family and a program and a community that is University of South Carolina. And so if that's what Shane's building, then, I got a ticket for life on that train. I'm not getting off the tracks anytime soon.
You're basically like...
Man, I'm about to start crying.
I know. You're basically like taking your shirt off, standing on top of the train.
Come on.
The whole... But, a little bit of news came in today. College football, speaking of, the way we're doing it the right way and homegrown talent and building a culture, other teams do it different ways. Team a little bit north of us with that Argyle Blue, UNC did decide to go ahead and hire Bill Belichick as their head coach. A really interesting move for a lot of different reasons. Yeah, I know, Sam. I know. Not your favorite. I saw him coach for a long time for the Patriots. Totally different thing. And I saw him draft horribly every single year. So I don't really know exactly what this means. I think to me, it just signifies college is here and college is a pro league now. It's attracting everything. It's attracting players to stay and make NIL. It's attracting athletes to work as hard as they can at any level because they can transfer and get up to South Carolina, Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State from something like Grambling State or East Mississippi Community College, So I think all of that's great. Do I think it's a good hire? I don't know. I mean, he's like what? He's like 1 year younger than Mac Brown. You said that earlier in the broadcast here, Buster. But it's interesting, and obviously we want to see what that deal is. And we play North Carolina almost every year, so this could affect us in some way. It could affect recruiting in the area. It could. I hope not. I think not. It feels desperate a little from North Carolina, but it's something, and it's something to note, and it's something to talk about when we're talking about coaches, right? So,
Belichick is not a year younger than Mac Brown because you got to factor in the age of his girlfriend, and if you take the law of averages, he's about 42 years old. So no.
I got to shout out my mom on that one, man. She made the funniest joke in a text. She said, like, "Oh, the only reason Bill Belichick's going to UNC is because his girlfriend's a cheerleader there."
Nice.
Shout out, Mom. Well done.
No, it's if you want to look at it from Argyle Blue colored glasses, you're getting a Hall of Fame NFL coach that his level of football knowledge is the observable universe, and everybody else is maybe a grain of sand on the planet Earth. Like, I mean, it's just he's unreal as a football coach. But whatever his motivations, like he's never coached in college. He did he's never had to navigate not only recruiting, which is a full-time job. I ask any college coach, what's it like recruiting it at the high school level, where the road trips, the phone calls, the text messages, the letters going out and coming in, officials and unofficials. Then you got to couple that with the NIL transfer portal era. He's never had to do any of that stuff. All he knows how to do is manage egos in New England. And I think this is more of a move to get his son into coaching.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's not taking this job as serious as you should, you're not going to have to worry about losing recruits to UNC, because they're going to see that. They can read through those things as much as they'll say, "Oh, come play for a Hall of Fame NFL coach Bill Belichick." They're going to be like, "No, I want to go somewhere where I can feel like I am invested in this program and the coaches too." Yeah. I don't think Bill Belichick is invested in that program. I don't think he'll ever be invested in that program. And I don't think it will. It feels a little
like Deion, doesn't it? It feels a little like I want to hire a celebrity.
Well, Deion's invested in his players. Like, there's a reason why
you say that,
Shiloh, and Travis
he left Jacksonville State, right? And he might leave again at some point. So
I mean,
yes,
I'm not gonna knock a person for taking a job somewhere else that's better fit for them. I don't think that's. Do you know what I mean? Like, Deion wanted to coach his son, which is fair, but I think he more so wanted to coach Travis Hunter because he saw the capabilities Travis Hunter has being a dual threat guy on offense and defense. And he's like, hey, I was like that. I could probably teach this young man how to play some
100%. He's the coach for the job. Yeah, and I think he saw Colorado's been down for a long time. I know I can bring them up. And he has.
Yeah, no, that was the thing. Is Coach Prime, if there's a level of selfishness with Coach Prime, it was he was not going to get the level of necessary attention at Jackson State, which completely I understand. Like, as much as HBCUs need to be respected, especially they are successful football programs, they weren't going to get the same level of attention as Power 5 schools. So he had to go to Colorado to say, hey, I can show you that not only can I build this program, but I'm going to show you that I'm actually a good coach, and I'm going to show you that I'm a good coach for my players.
Yeah.
That's not the same as what Bill Belichick is doing by getting hired at
UNC. I don't want to spend too much time on it from my end here, so I'm gonna ask you guys one question. Is Tom Brady going to be the quarterback for UNC?
No, definitely not.
No? Okay, let's move on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I feel you. I just thought, it is something to talk about. We might see more of this going forward. Crazy names at head coach in college, and it's exciting on one end. But yeah, what's it going to do? That's all.
It's going to be a good offseason story. I'll tell you that. We'll just go with that.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about Travis Hunter, right? This is probably our last topic of the day, but really big selection this weekend with the Heisman. We got Oregon quarterback Dylan Gabriel, Colorado wide receiver and cornerback Travis Hunter, Boise State running back Ashton Genty, and Miami quarterback Cam Ward up for the Heisman. Mike, who do you like?
I like Jonty. I like him a lot. I saw his interview the other day on ESPN. Very grounded kid, very appreciative of his lineman, but still confident in his abilities. I'm a little disappointed in Heisman overall that it has to take a running back to potentially break Barry Sanders' record to be invited to this. And I think his body work stands for itself. I will say, it is Boise State. They are in the Mountain West. Is that the most competition he's going to see as a running back? No, it's not. But I think the abilities show itself. I think he's worked really hard with what he's been given. That's all you can really do as a college athlete. You can't schedule the games yourself. You can't just say, okay, we're going to play Alabama this week. But I want to pose a question to you guys overall. I mean, I definitely want to know, who you like and what you think. But I just got to throw this out there because it really hit me when I saw the list, and especially without Shedeur on there. Is this a weak Heisman class?
Oh, come on, weak. Mike,
I mean, other than Jonty,
go up to
these guys going to get drafted.
Guys, I want you to walk up to any of these guys, meet them face to face, and be like, "Hey, listen, you're part of the weakest Heisman class. See what they do. No, you're only saying it's weak.
I will shrink up.
There's only the only reason why anybody would say it's weak is this. You don't have the same level of name and brand that you would get out of quarterbacks from the Power 5 conferences that you've had in the past. Cam Newton's, like Bama quarterbacks, your Derrick Henrys, Colt McCoy, Sam Bradford's, like big names that you've known since they were high school recruits. These guys were, if you look at outside of Travis Hunter being the number one recruit a couple years ago, Cam Ward was unranked. Ashton Genty was in the 1000s as far as a recruit. Like I think he was recruit number 1,200, some odd, blah, blah, blah. Dylan Gabriel, I mean, his career started at UCF. Like these guys
but he's
came out of
playing
nowhere.
for number one, going for
like,
a national title, right?
Miami quarterback Cam Ward, unranked. He played at Incarnate Word in the SLC, like you said earlier.
There
I don't
it
even
is.
know what that is.
Southland.
Is that some kind of conference? Yeah.
There's the drop.
Like, these guys came from nowhere, and when they finally get on the biggest stage, they produced, and people want to try to find a way to say that, oh, they're not good enough. Ashton Genty's not good enough. Oh, you broke Barry Sanders' record? Well, you play at Boise State.
Where you play
Who
at?
cares? Have you seen him run? He's powerful. He's smart. He understands how to hit the holes. He's patient.
Yeah, Sam wants him on his Steelers for sure.
Well, I mean, if we're gonna lose Najee, if we're gonna lose Najee to free agency, I definitely would love to see.
I'll take Travis Hunter in New England very nicely, please. Thank you.
Right now, like I'd love for Ashton to win it. We haven't had a running back win it since Derrick Henry in 2015. But I mean, the intrigue of Travis Hunter being an elite athlete, playing on both sides of the ball, and making plays, and making highlights, and racking up the stats. I'm going to go with Travis Hunter winning the Heisman.
I'm gonna have to agree. I also think it's Travis Hunter, but to answer your question too, Mike, at least from on my perspective, I don't think this is the Heisman traditionally goes to like quarterbacks and offensive players, right?
Yeah,
it's almost always exclusively quarterbacks. Maybe this is just a down year for the quarterback class, not necessarily
and the
Dylan Gabriel or
right?
Cam Ward. But if you look at some of these other positions, right, like defensive line is stacked. I mean, TJ Sanders, as good as he is, he's only like the 8th or 9th ranked defensive lineman on the board. And he's probably going to be a 2nd or 3rd round pick. Like, it's just other positions. And I think we're starting to see defense is finally starting. The scoring's been down a little bit, right? It's just been, become kind of a little bit of a defensive league in college football this year. And I would love this. I think Travis Hunter wins it. And in my opinion, he should win it. I mean, when you're catching the ball, 70, 80 times. And you're also leading your team. You're also leading your team in interceptions. That's pretty special.
I think that sets us up for a gin shot. If I get my mini Barry Sanders, then you two are on the hook. And if Travis Hunter goes, then I'll go ahead for that. And I will take that gin shot for Barry Sanders, who is also very supportive of Jonty and wants him to break the record and says that's why records are there. So that gives Jonty just a little more juice to maybe do that.
Oh man, I think we're going to be drunk by the next episode.
Yeah, possibly. But to that end, just to round that out, we did talk about Dylan Gabriel on the Ducks. He has a chance at a championship too, so could be looking at double the hardware there.
Yeah.
Just some housekeeping there for what's happened so far. Travis Hunter has won 2 awards, the two-way player award and the defensive player award. Shador did win the Golden Arms, so that's interesting. They kept him out of that there. But, how does that hardware weigh in? Do you think that helps sway things for Travis? Well, he's got a bunch of awards already. He's odds on favorite. He's the guy. It's done. Or do you think this voting is other than the pick itself, do you think the voting is very close?
Does all that previous hardware matter? Nah, man. He's a minus 2,200 favorite from Vegas to win the Heisman. I got a feeling he's gonna win that Heisman.
Yeah, you're going with Vegas on this one.
This is where I'm gonna agree with Vegas. I mean, minus 2,200. That means if you bet $2,200, you only win 100. That's how strong they feel that Travis Hunter is gonna win it. That's insane.
Yeah, that's not much money.
All right, Sam. If you get a job at the MGM, I'm going to come and visit you at least once a week because apparently. I mean, I know you lost out on the Clemson bet, but like you got these odds down packed. So like,
the numbers were close for sure.
And I won't, instead of money, we'll just do like gin shots. Like instead of money, we'll just do
warm gin shots.
We got to find a gin sponsor then. Yeah,
you're gonna be my warm gin shot bookie. All right.
I would love for anyone that works at Hendrix to hit us up with some free gin there. That'd be great.
Gin martinis all day. Yeah, for sure. Well, that's going to lead us to our game balls here. Wrapping up this episode. Buster, you had one and you had something you wanted to show off.
Yeah. Boom. Game ball. This one signed by the Shane Train. So this is my special game ball. This goes to a very special and a very important piece of the puzzle for the next year. We had a 5-star true freshman edge, Dylan Stewart, come in and show everybody why he is one of the best in the nation. He beat a triple team in Kentucky. Everybody, all the naysayers, all the idiots on X, Instagram, whatever other blogs, media posts, internet, were saying that he should transfer. He needs to go to somewhere better. He just signed a NIL deal with the Garnet Trust. He's coming back for his second year, and he's going to show everybody why it is great to be a Gamecock. So shout out Dylan Stewart. You got my game ball for the week.
Love you, Dylan. Love you, Dylan. I'm going to go across the pond and into a different football entirely. The Forest Green Rovers, baby, FC, they come away with a big, big win on Saturday. Of course, it was for a cup. It wasn't necessary for the league, so people might say it didn't mean anything, but let me tell you something. When you're facing down relegation like they were last year, and now they have a chance to be promoted back into the the EFL League Two, Forest Green Rovers, big, big win in PKs on Saturday. Hey, got the Cellar Dwellers coming up Boston this weekend, so don't take them lightly. Let's go, baby.
Coming from a very good goalie there, and Mr. Sam Niedermeyer, he knows what he's talking about there.
It's my
totally different ball, totally different type of ball, but okay, all right, that's fine. It's not American football, but it's still a type of football.
I mean, it rolls true. It's a perfect sphere. It rolls true.
Yeah,
this oblong thing.
Buster, great use of props. Very jealous. Very nice ball that you have there. That's fun.
Yeah, shout out to my stepbrother Thomas Staffel for getting this for me for
really keeping unbiased. Just really staying unbiased.
Very unbiased. No, this accidentally popped up on my my background. I am a unbiased sports enthusiast.
Yeah, and we're here for it, and we're here for you, and we appreciate everybody. That's going to wrap up our episode this week. Remember to like, subscribe, if you wish. Let us know anything and everything we did right or wrong, or what you want to see on a future episode. We definitely will be diving into some of these topics again next week. Again, our full bowl preview. We'll obviously know who the Heisman is. We'll have a lot more of this hardware getting handed out from this that was such a great college season. And getting into the postseason here, looking a little bit deeper at that bracket and maybe into the second round and what a championship game could be and where. But that'll take us to the end of our episode. You know what that means, folks? That's another great episode of Alumni
Game.
Gamecocks.
And that's going to take us out, folks. Thanks again. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
Well done, boys.
Woo!